Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hi there, welcome back. It's great to be back.
It's always great to be with you guys.
Yes.
So before we get going, I just wanted to remind everybody, if you haven't yet, please do subscribe if you want to hopefully get some notifications. The way the world works today. And I want to thank you guys for your support as always. So we see this Chinese troops converging in border town facing Myanmar. And Myanmar's undergoing a coup, and a lot of tension going on there right now. And we see over here, this out of the South China Morning Post, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi warns ASEAN to be alert to external forces interfering in Myanmar. Wang accuses unnamed external forces of provoking trouble after wrapping up a series of meetings with Southeast Asian counterparts. Now, undoubtedly, something's going on there, because now we see that there's actually Chinese armed forces and artillery that has arrived there. And actually, there's quite a few reports now showing a lot of military presence of the Chinese army in Myanmar.
Right, so, what do we make of all this? This is pretty serious. That's what we make of it.
Yeah, what was that? When The Rock used to wrestle, he used to say something like, "Can you smell what The Rock is cooking?" Well, can you smell what the powers that be are cooking?
That's right. Are you picking up what they're putting down?
They want to manifest certain things. Going back to a statement by A. Pike, P-I-K-E, well-known 33rd degree Freemason, also was part of the Confederacy. Back in 1871, he spoke of the plans for 3 world conflagrations. And they were going to be using divisive tactics in order to manifest it. So here you see Chinese troops have invaded into Myanmar territory today. Chinese forces arrive. Well, they came to protect the gas line. That's what it's about. And I'm sure they are going to say, hey, we were invited by somebody over there.
Mm-hmm. We were. Over there, right there, yep.
Yeah, we got an invitation here somewhere.
Yep.
Well, big enough military is always going to be its own invitation. As we see tons coming in. Everything has changed here now. There is, of course, the very, very famous book, The Art of War. When you're strong, feign weakness. When you're weak, feign strength. Prepare, prepare, prepare. And perhaps the battle never even has to come. But just doing the right things at the right time, the right show of force. Sometimes, in history we have seen times when the conquerors have walked into a country and they've been welcomed with open arms, partially out of terror and fear for what may happen if that's not the case.
Right. So there's just a whole lot going on here and on many different levels.
And we always have spin. There's always spin. There's always spin to, basically justify whatever comes next. So we see Myanmar's brutal military was once a force for freedom, but it's been waging civil war for decades. There's a much bigger battle going on here. We do have some good news. An Australian couple was released from detention. Matthew O'Kane and Krista Avery were put under house arrest after trying to leave Myanmar on a relief flight in March. And thankfully they have been released, and hopefully after going into quarantine for, I don't know what the prerequisite is now. Are we in months, days, years, decades? And then they'll be able to be reunited at some time in the future, hopefully, with family members in this crazy world.
That would be very nice.
Yes. Being a little facetious with the timing, but it's the way things are now. And we have been watching these militia fishing vessels, And as we have spoken of, swarms of ships, Beijing tightening its grip on South China Sea and really all over. It feels like it's almost go time. Do you guys feel that?
It does have this sort of peaking type feeling to it.
It does. Curious how, this year just, it's just like you get whiplash. Yeah. There's one boogeyman, now there's another boogeyman. Japan poised to allow Coast Guard to fire on Chinese vessels in new legislation. New legislation being considered that would radically alter the current of Japanese Coast Guard policy towards how it engages foreign vessels in Japan's waters, could inadvertently hurl the region towards a hot conflict involving China. By the way, as we had said before, a lot of those fishing vessels, hundreds of them, were actually in Filipino territory, actually in Ecuadorian, off the coast of Ecuador, off the coast of Peru as well. So, this is most definitely things getting ratcheted up to a much, much higher degree. And when, if we just look at things and we don't even look or acknowledge the fact that there are puppet masters with strings going on, if we were to even just look at this as if everything was completely the decisions of the actual people that are supposedly the leaders of these countries, then you could still look and say, well, look at what we had go on in the U.S. They are divided. So when they're divided, there you go. It's time to move. And we can look at it from that point of view and see that the aggressiveness that is happening right now from that Eastern fine dining power is unusual for what we have seen in the past, but it is foreshadowing of the future, perhaps, as we are seeing a apparent changing of the guard.
Yes, we're definitely seeing that.
And here is out at South Front, war between Russia and Ukraine is inevitable. Is that the case? Well, that's what some think. And it is most definitely ratcheting up as well. And for those of you that have watched carefully and studied his storybooks, we can see the same sort of things going on right now that we saw before WW1, WW2. All it takes is one wrong turn down the wrong alley at the wrong time. As we see the Defender Europe, U.S. Army arrives. Yeah, there are these forces that all they want to see is just chaos.
Mm-hmm. Right, so let's not let them manifest this. Let's manifest a totally different outcome. I know we can do it.
Not everything in Europe is paralyzed by the lockdown. In fact, the mammoth annual exercise of the U.S. Army, Defender Europe, which until June mobilized on European territory, and beyond this, dozens of thousands of soldiers with thousands of tanks and other means, has been set in motion. Defender Europe 21 not only resumes the 2020 program, but it's amplifying it. And I think we should, again, as we had said before, and somebody said wisely, because we were talking about LA and the swarm going on, and how like Dutch always advises for an earthquake plan. We got to have our plans for multiple things. Okay, has anybody thought of what would actually happen and what it would be like if this did turn into a third replay of something that should never happen?
I don't know. This is just something that we have to be constantly prepared for all kinds of different scenarios. And the more prepared you are, the better off you're going to handle it.
And as we've shared, our guides had told us 3 months ago that, it's time to get yourself situated. You got about 3 months. Mm-hmm. And then it's kind of going to be hunkered down time. And recently they've said, be ready for 6 to 8 weeks with nothing. Imagine there's nothing that's available. Nothing. Because everything is completely locked down for whatever reason it could be. Can you handle it?
Well, have you gone? Do you have any doctor's appointments? Do you need that you need to do that you need to get out of the way so things don't deteriorate while you can't see a doctor? Do you have food stocked up? I mean, we're not in the most ideal situation, but we're doing the best we can with what we have, and that's what you guys can do too.
Yeah, and as we have, traveled almost 5,000 miles in just a matter of weeks, that was something that we did kind of not restock, and we haven't really restocked, though. We still could live for a couple years off of rice, beans, and lentils, most definitely, and we could get things growing hopefully soon. We have to do as best we can, given whatever circumstances we have, and forge those alliances with your friends, family members, and your neighbors.
Yeah, and they don't have to believe as you do. Just, be on the lookout and understand that, hey, you might need this neighbor as a friend, however that looks like.
Yeah, so, this has been going on for a while. There's a massive, massive buildup. You're talking about 28,000 troops from the United States and 25 NATO allies and partners. And, right away, I think DEA, GEL, when I start seeing all this, it just is one of those things that, again, you can have all these prophecies. Doesn't mean that they're given to us from above. Maybe some of them are given to us from below, with the hopes that we will manifest a negative outcome.
Yeah, we definitely always have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, at the same time, we want to stay positive. But did WW1 happen? Yes. As I've talked to family members back when I was a little boy that were alive to see it. And I mean, my grandpa was in both world wars, as he was his entire life in the Navy since the time he was like 15. He lied about his age. And then he ended up passing on just shortly after leaving service. But yeah, both of those things actually happened, no matter how high-intentioned people were. So in that sense, we have to be realistic. We recognize our power to manifest, but we also recognize that there is this power brokership that is here on the planet that's doing their best to manifest a certain outcome.
Yes, they are.
So guys, thanks for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. Anybody needs to reach out to us, it's evolutionaryenergyarts@gmail.com or EEARTS@protonmail.com. Thank you for being part of this family. Be prepared, guys.
God bless and namaste.
God bless. Namaste.